Am I the butthole for telling my friend his physical standards or why he's single? I, 22 male, have a friend, 22 male, who has never had a girlfriend or romantic experience. Now, let me say that I actually really like him as a person and think he has positive qualities. He has a solid job making $180,000 with a company car as a surgical device sales rep, at 22, after graduating magna cum laude. He is generally affable and easy to talk to. If his standards were just educated and good person, I would totally support it, as I think that's reasonable. However, physically, and I know I'm being brutal here, he is not a catch. He already has a significantly receded hairline, his face is quite frankly below average, he's of below average height, and he's not in amazing shape. I believe he has a distorted view because his parents constantly told him he was very handsome and could get any girl. As a result, he is exclusively interested in women who are not just successful, but also are exceptionally gorgeous. A woman, who said she just graduated from an Ivy League and was a tech sales rep, was flirting with him at the bar. Though she was nice and clearly quite intelligent, and again I know I'm being brutal here, she was not very attractive. When she asked for his number, he politely declined. I asked him what was wrong and he said, she seems like a nice person but she's definitely not in my league. I bit my tongue. The next week, he came to me upset and told me that a woman that he had a cooking class with rejected him. Suspecting the reason why, I asked him to show me a picture of her from her social media. Sure enough, she was insanely attractive and in marketing at a big company. I just tried to sympathize. Later, I thought long and hard about it. On the one hand, I didn't want to be mean. But on the other, this has been occurring since freshman year of high school. He is now the last person in the friend group to be single and completely missed out on dating in high school and college. Say what you will, but I think that romance is important for the vast majority of people, and I also think physical attraction is a foundational aspect of relationships unless you're both ace. He could easily be in a relationship if he got over his obsession with beauty. So after rehearsing what I wanted to say, I decided to sit him down and I told him, I'm going to be honest with you, man, I think you should lower your physical standards. You would have way more options. He protested and said that his standards were reasonable because he's a good-looking guy. I said, I hate to say it, but your approach of only going after beautiful and successful women has not worked out. Feel free to shoot your shot, but I think you should also consider women that are nice/smart but less physically attractive. I recommended he go to therapy about this. He got angry and has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. 8 days. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. It sounds like you approach this mindfully and with good intentions. Unfortunately, a guy like this doesn't sound open to reflection about himself. These opinions tend to solidify with time, resulting in the women are the problem mindset. He will either learn in time or he won't. Not the butthole. Honestly, you've risked looking like the bad guy to genuinely help your friend because you want him to be happy, and you spent time and energy thinking how to do that in a way that wouldn't hurt his feelings. You didn't call him unattractive or say they were out his league, you just said it wasn't working out and he should maybe try something new. I think you're a mensch. Not the butthole. Attraction is subjective, and different things do it for different people. However, the fact that he's 22, and has never been in a relationship or had a romantic experience is a very good indicator that something is not working for him. It sounds to me as though he is terribly entitled, and thinks he's God's gift to women. It might have been a little bit harsh in how you approached it, but it sounds like he's shooting for the stars and instantly discounting anyone who isn't both gorgeous and highly successful. I'm not saying that he should start dating someone to whom he has no attraction, but I genuinely think he's in danger of falling down a very bitter rabbit hole unless he's willing to give people a chance, even if they're not his overblown ideal. I think you were a good friend to talk to him about this. Not many people would risk possibly coming across as the bad guy to do this. I have no judgment to give, but please consider what a little less attractive woman would have to go through if she were to date someone with an inflated ego like that. He would probably constantly belittle and criticize her. He doesn't need to change his standards, he needs to stay far away from all women. It's probably for the best he's only shooting for the stars and getting rejected. Am I the butthole for not trying to convince my parents to treat all their grandchildren equally? I, 47, got divorced from my first wife when I was 29. We had 2 kids and my folks loved them more than anything. My ex-wife wasn't happy with the lifestyle that I could provide. I wasn't making a lot of money, but we weren't in debt or anything. We had good cars and we had just put a down payment on our first home that we would own. Her boss was rich. He was 47 and he could provide luxuries that were out of my reach. She left me for him. I still had to pay child support, but I guess I was lucky that I didn't pay spousal support. I had to work and I couldn't get custody. I got visitation. And my ex made it hard. The kids were young. And she manipulated them. If I had planned to take them to a local resort for our summer vacation, she would take them to Disneyland the week before. I would always come up short. Eventually the kids refused to spend time with me. It went to court and I basically had to accept that I couldn't force them to see me and my parents. I met my second wife, 33, at the dog park when I was 37 and she was 24. She had a son who was about the age my son was the last time my parents got to see him. My parents accepted him right away. He loves them. My wife is like a daughter to them. It is what I always wanted for a life. We have 2 more kids now, 8, 5. My stepson is about to graduate next year. So a few years ago my dad sold his company. He is an engineer and he had some patents that ended up being worth a fair bit of money. He paid off my house. He also made educational funds for my 3 kids. He figured the older ones were done school and hadn't bothered to visit them in years, so they didn't need anything from him. Turns out that was wrong. My ex-wife married a scam artist. He was rich. But he wasn't rich enough for the lifestyle she wanted. So he stole from his clients. And then he went to jail. My oldest kids are in a lot of debt. My ex is living with her parents. She recently tried to tell me that my parents needed to be fair with all their grandchildren. I told her it was their money to spend on the people they loved and who loved them back. She said that we were punishing her kids for her mistakes. I said that both of our kids were adults and hadn't made any effort to see me or my parents in over a decade. She said I'm being in butthole for not convincing my parents to help her kids. Not the butthole. It's not your money. And your ex and the kids made their choices. This is like getting angry at a will. It's not supposed to be fair. Not the butthole. Don't fall into your ex trap again. I understand kids being manipulated, but at the same time your parents didn't have much choice with either of them visiting or even greeting on special occasions. I would want my near and dear to enjoy my fruits of labor rather than some distant family member. Am I the butthole for suing my father for the damage done to my house by his dogs? My 31 female mom passed away last year. My dad, 56, married a woman, 37, with a son, 16, about 6 months later. I think that the age difference is a bit much, but she is nearly 40, so it's not like he's robbing the cradle. Whenever my parents went away I would always watch their dogs. They weren't the dogs that I grew up with, but they are good puppies. My mom would always call and let me know well in advance that they were going away. I would make sure that either myself or my boyfriend would be around pretty quick after the pups got dropped off. They could behave themselves for a few hours and I would leave water out for them. I do not have any pets myself. My work can involve travel and my boyfriend works out of town for 2 weeks and then has 2 weeks off. Well, my dad and his new wife decided to go on a trip. But since it was never his responsibility he didn't call. I was out of town. My boyfriend was working. My dad has a key to my house for emergencies and dropping off the dogs. My neighbor called me a day later about the dogs howling in my house to see if everything was okay. I called my dad and he told me that he didn't know I was out of town. I said that if he didn't come get them I was calling animal control. So he had his new stepson come to my house to get the dogs. I have no idea why a 16-year-old kid who was trusted to stay home by himself could not just have watched the dogs in the first place. When I got home I found a disaster area. Dog crap and piss everywhere. I don't want to describe everything because it makes me angry. To get everything that could be cleaned done and to replace my boyfriend's leather recliner, which was old but also destroyed, cost about $7,000. I told my dad I expected him to pay for everything. He said that he would see if his homeowner's insurance would cover it. They will, but the deductible is a lot. And his premiums will go up. So he said that he would take care of it. It's been a few months and I am sick of waiting. The limit for small claims court in my state is more than double what I want. So I am suing him. He was served and called me to complain. He doesn't have the money because he just bought a new car. He bought the car after my house got destroyed. I feel no pity. But his wife and him keep trying to talk me out of pursuing this. They said that my dad paid for a good chunk of my student debt and that I owe him. Him and my mom did pay off about $10,000 of my student debt. And I was grateful. It is one of the reasons I had no problem dog sitting for free. But he says that if I take this money then he will not have money for things at his house. He isn't retired. And my mom had life insurance. Not the butthole, and it's vital to hold firm and not let them sway you here. He had months to pay you back and instead bought a car? His negligence resulted in damage to your property. He should absolutely be paying for everything and his financial irresponsibility is not your problem. Not the butthole, he entered your home without your permission and left his dogs unattended. You gave him an opportunity to pay for the damages and waited months for him to do it. It's only normal that you took the next step and sue. He bought a new car, so he clearly has other priorities than paying you back. In my opinion, paying you back will never be his priority. Keep suing. Not the butthole. He abandoned his dogs in an empty house without food and water. Or someone to walk them. He isn't just he should be investigated for animal cruelty. Am I the butthole for refusing to eat at my husband's family dinner? This year, my husband, 36 male, His extended family decided to go to a fancy restaurant to celebrate the holidays. For context as it's relevant to the situation, I, 30 female, am a white woman, while my husband and his family are 1ST/2ND Gen East and Southeast Asian. When we originally made plans, we agreed on a local higher-end chain spot that we had been to many times in the past. However, the day before, my mill sent us a message that her brother had switched spots to another high-end Chinese restaurant. I'd never been there, but I didn't really care and was happy to go. We regularly eat and sometimes make home-cooked traditional Chinese food anyways, so there was no issue. So we pack up our son, one male, and meet his family at this new restaurant. It was mostly nice, but one thing struck me immediately. The restaurant heavily advertised and displayed its shark fin soup menu. To the point that there were some fins literally hanging on display. In our country, the sale of shark fins is illegal. It's also known to be extremely cruel. Basically, the fin is removed from living sharks and the animal is left to slowly die unable to swim, and ecologically a key reason for some at-risk shark species population declines. Everyone sat down, and I was notably quiet. I quickly pulled my husband to the side to explain that I was really uncomfortable with this restaurant as it sold shark fin and try to figure out what to do. I was really anxious given the illegality of the dish and morally upset. He said we could talk about it when we got home but to please just get through the dinner. When it came time to order, a lot of the aunts and uncles ordered shark fin soup, while everyone else ordered fancy dishes. Internally I was still freaking out, and quickly just chose the plainest possible noodle dish, basically noodles with oil, and said I would share it with my son. I got some weird looks from my mill and bill since they know I regularly love Chinese food and this wouldn't be my typical order. The food arrives and I cut up/give some of the noodles to my son. He still needs to eat, and really just pick at the rest while we're there. There is a lot of food sharing but I wouldn't participate and also blocked my son from participating. Some family made comments on my son's not sharing but I just laughed them off or changed the subject. There wasn't any conflict while we were at the restaurant and I tried to hide my discomfort and hold happier conversations with everyone there. When we got home my husband asked if I was feeling well and why I hadn't eaten more food. I told him I was uncomfortable eating shark fin and didn't want to eat at a restaurant that supported eating shark fin, and didn't want our son eating there either. He got angry and said I was embarrassing him, and I guess called a couple family members. Now I have a bunch of them messaging me saying I am racist and I am stealing my son's culture from him. Am I the butthole for not sucking it up and eating at the restaurant? Not the butthole at all. Shark fin soup practices sound really bad from what I've learned about it, and you didn't make a fuss about it at the table. I personally wouldn't support a restaurant like that, and this has nothing to do with being racist or depriving your child of culture. It's hard to stand up to your in-laws, and I think you handled the situation really well. Just don't go to that restaurant again, regardless of who's asking. Not the butthole at all. The sale of shark fins is largely illegal for a reason. You obviously know and are uncomfortable with the way shark fins are harvested. I am too. It's appalling. But even when they ordered shark fin soup you didn't make a scene, you just sat with your son and ate your own food. Shark fin soup is not imperative to their culture, you're not stealing anything from your son. Your husband shouldn't have called his relatives to tell them, he created a much bigger problem. Not the butthole. Your husband should have supported you. Time to report that restaurant, anonymously of course. Am I the butthole for wanting my daughter's birthday party to be about her? My daughter, 6, just had her birthday party today. There's a little girl with special needs in the class and according to school policy, we had to invite the entire class including the special needs girl. My daughter isn't friends with her so there isn't a reason for her to be invited or have to come. Not only did we invite the kid, my wife called her mom and found out what toys she likes and made sure to have it at the party for her. She also put together a separate meal for the girl and set up our guest room for her and her mom in case she gets overwhelmed. In my opinion, if we have to invite her we'll invite her but there's no need to make this one little girl special and the center of attention. She had her own toys, her own food, and a different costume. It was a princess party and everyone was a princess or prince except for the special needs kid, who was a unicorn. After the party I told my wife that I don't like that she went out of her way to make another little girl the center of attention at our daughter's birthday party. My wife got defensive and said she was just trying to be inclusive and accommodating to the little girl and her needs but now she's talking about play dates and after the party bullcrap it looks like my daughter is always going to come in second to someone else's kid. I told my wife I don't want her to force our daughter to spend time with this special girl just to make the special one the center of attention and she called me a dick. I'm currently sleeping in the guest room and she's setting up a play date for the girls this week. Am I the butthole for wanting my daughter's events to be about her and not some random kid? You're the butthole. Not once did you mention your daughter's feelings or reactions in all of this. You don't actually care about putting her first, you just don't want to accommodate a special needs kid. You are literally grouchy because you have to be nice to a 6-year-old. That is about as you can get, dude. You're the butthole. It doesn't even sound like your daughter minded the unicorn costume, the special food, or the extra room. Your wife is accommodating and inclusive. You're not, and that's unfortunate. I understand wanting your daughter to feel special at her birthday party. What I'm failing to understand is how accommodating a special needs child takes away from your daughter's fun. You're the butthole. 100%. Your wife did a wonderful thing to include a little girl who probably gets left out a lot. She didn't make the birthday party about her, she made it so she could be a participant in the party. No one sang happy birthday to her. No one brought her presents. Everyone's focus was still on your daughter, except maybe yours because you were so worried that a girl with special needs was being included. Even just the way you call her the special needs girl screams ah. Thank goodness your wife isn't like you and is teaching your daughter that she can be friends with someone who is different than her. Am I the butthole for prioritizing my dog over my mom's stepchild? I, 32 female, have a 12-year-old American bully named Rory. Because of her age she had a lot of health issues. Right now she needs to have surgery. It's going to be around $6,000 plus about $3-4K in meds followed by 6 months in therapy that's going to be $10-12K. That brings the total to $22K the most. I can easily afford it because I have a good job, in IT, I don't have any debt to pay, I'm child-free and I budget myself very well. My mom was what you can call a weekend parent. She never really mothered me. She will often let me fend for myself. Because of that my childhood was practically non-existent. My dad died when I was 2 and my grandparents lived far away so I was by myself 99% of the time. I went low contact with her when I started college. Last year she got married to Alex who has a 5-year-old son, David, from a previous relationship. I wasn't aware of any of this. I didn't know she was dating and I didn't know she got married. Mom called me last night because David has some health issues and needs medical care that's too expensive for their budget. That's when I found out about Alex. Apparently my mom did tell me anything because if I knew about Alex she would have been forced to invite me to the wedding which she didn't want to do because Alex doesn't know I exist. Basically she wants me to send her $15K to pay for David treatment or whatever he needs. I said no. I'm doing well financially but I don't have that kind of money and I'm not paying for a random kid. I told mom as nice as I could that I can't help her because 1. I don't want to and 2. I don't have the money. She ended the call. She found out about my Rory surgery from my cousin and this morning I woke up to a bunch of voicemails and texts calling me all possible names because I chose my dog over her stepkid. I texted back this, yes. That dog means the world to me and I will do anything I can for her. David is nothing to me. You got married without telling me because you don't want your hubby to know I exist. Perfect. If I don't exist in your little perfect life then why are you asking me for money? Your stepchild isn't my responsibility. I wouldn't give you $15K even if I had it because you're not important enough to me to spare that kind of money. You haven't called me in what? 3 years? 4? And now you want money from me? Nah. Safe to say my family is now calling me a monster because I would rather help a dog than a child. My decision is final but I'm curious if I'm the butthole. Update. 1. Regarding Rory, surgery, it's nothing life-threatening. She has nerve damage so her back legs are almost completely numb. The surgery is going to help her walk properly. She isn't going to be in pain because the nerves are almost completely gone. I wouldn't go through with it if I knew she would be in pain after. 2. I talked with my cousin and she gave me Alex's full name so I found him on Facebook. I messaged him and I told him everything. I sent him more than enough proof that I am who I said I was. I told him to tell my mom that she and rest of the family can go F themselves. 3. I blocked all my family and I'm not planning on ever having contact with them again. 4. Rory has her last checkup today and she's scheduled for surgery in 2 days so we are going to do all of her favorite activities before she has the surgery. I've taken time off work and I'm going to work from home until she recovers completely. 5. Thank you for all the support and good wishes for her. Update, dog tax. Rory. Not the butthole. Ask every family member that calls what you can put them down to donate to your mother. That should stop the calls. Edit, thanks for the awards. Not the butthole. Your mom wanted to use your money while your dog has supported you more than she has. Am I the butthole for telling my parents we are not spending Christmas together again? I, 30 female, have custody of my niece who is 9 and my nephew who is 8. My brother is their father. Their mother died when my nephew was born. My brother stayed single for 2 years and then met a new wife and married her a year later. His wife had children who despised the fact their mom remarried and did not want my brother's children around. They treated them horribly. They were cruel bullies and my brother's wife was more focused on pretending she could mother all the children and ignore the fact her kids hated my niece and nephew. When my niece and nephew asked their dad if he would leave his wife so her kids wouldn't be so mean, she changed. She thought they saw her as their mom, but I suppose hearing over and over from her kids that they weren't, alongside knowing they were in their lives because she was, made it hard for a true bond to form, given the extent of the bullying. I had spoken to my brother on a number of occasions. I even spoke to his wife. I tried everything to get them to open their eyes to the fact my niece and nephew's lives were being made hell by the older children. In the end, I started to call CPS for concerns, and once the kids were both in school and concerns were brought, my nephew begged to stay in school and not go home repeatedly, and he was only in kindy, and they reported it. CPS intervened. They went to the therapies suggested, but the kids were still bullying my niece and nephew. The caseworker requested they separate the kids for a period of time until the older children could treat them better. But my brother refused to move out of the house or have his wife leave. He said his marriage was just as important as the kids, and so they looked for a kinship placement, which my husband and I agreed to. The only reason things got to this stage is because of the level of behavior and hatred the older children showed my niece and nephew. Kids not getting along in the home is not a reason for CPS to take this action. But the level of this paired with the negative impact on my niece and nephew is why this came to be. My husband and I still have custody, because nothing has changed with my brother's family. He no longer sees the kids, and the kids have not wanted to see his wife, while she, out of guilt I think, wanted to remain part of their lives. My parents understood that no contact would be made outside of any court-ordered time. They stopped talking to my brother for a time. But now they are acting all friendly with him, and they invited him for Christmas. I only found out because my sister told me. So I called and told them we would not be going. They made a point of saying reunification was important/good and how this would be Christmas going forward. So I told them we would not spend Christmas together again. They're angry and told me I'm being too aggressive in how I handle things. That I am throwing away my niece and nephew's family when they need family the most. Am I the butthole? They're angry and told me I'm being too aggressive in how I handle things. The irony of that statement. If your brother had been half as aggressive in addressing his own kids' welfare, none of this would be happening. Good for you for being those kids' champion. It seems as though they badly need one. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. You are most certainly not throwing away your niece and nephew's family. You are in fact showing yourselves, you and your husband, to be the best kind of family, one that puts the safety and comfort of the children first. The kids don't need family, they have you both. Not the butthole. Your parents need to open their eyes to the fact that your brother decided his wife and her children were more important than his own. Just how hard did they try to get her children to not be bullies to babies? His wife may have had good intentions, but the fact that the behavior of her own children was allowed to be so bad for so long is pretty appalling. Well done for sticking up for your two and being the adults they need to stand up for them. I can't even imagine how bad the older kids treated your niece and nephew to warrant CPS removing them from the home. Not the butthole. You are their guardian. You have custody of those kids. You owe it to them to keep them safe. Christmas is not the time for them to see their dad who didn't protect them and stood idly by while they were being abused by their step-siblings. If he really wanted to reunite with them, it wouldn't be throwing them into the deep end on a major holiday, he would be making steps in their everyday life. Am I the butthole? My wife demands I remove taxidermy for her sister's visit. I am very into deer hunting and have 2 mounted deer heads in my basement. My wife does not like taxidermy and brings it up quite a bit. One is in a living room and the other in my workout room that doubles as a guest room. Her sister is coming to town for the holidays and my wife insists I remove the deer head so her sister is comfortable. I refuse since I use the room every day and I get a great memory every time I walk in that room. I don't feel like I need to take down or adjust things for my sister-in-law. She doesn't have to stay at our house. I have offered to change sheets etc. so my wife does not need to go in that room. You're the butthole. Who the frick wants to sleep with a dead deer looking at them? Take it down. You're the butthole. You're not going to use the workout room while it's a guest room, so why does Bambi need to be in there while it's a guest room? You're the butthole. You're not going to go into the guest room every day while your Sil is staying there. And to be a good host, you should also temporarily move the one in the living room. How does this hurt you? I am very into deer hunting and have 2 mounted deer heads in my basement. My wife does not like taxidermy and brings it up quite a bit. One is in a living room and the other in my workout room that doubles as a guest room. How the hell are these heads in both the basement and the living room and the workout room? And you're the butthole because you sure as crap aren't going to be working out in that room while she's staying there, so take your sad little trophy down and put it away. Am I the butthole for not changing my tradition day to my dill and making things uncomfortable? I have a tradition that every June and December, on the first Saturday of the month, I make a traditional dish from my country for my family and friends. Everyone loves it and it's a family recipe. My youngest son has been married to Wendy for 3 years, together one before. I didn't know her that well, because they didn't live here. Wendy is a rising chef. In June, Wendy asked if she could help me make the dish and I said yes. It was my biggest regret. She gave advice on all seasoning choices, and even though I said it's a family recipe, she kept giving her opinion. When that date passed, I made it clear that I would not like any more help. First and last time, she took it personally and our relationship became uncomfortable. Last month, day 16, I received an invitation from my son and Wendy to go to their house, because Wendy was going to make this dish. It was the first Sunday in December. To clarify, this dish is not something you can eat 2 days in a row, as it is heavy. Some sent me a message, asking if mine would still happen. They know it's always the first Saturday, and I confirmed. On the 20th, I sent the formal invitation by message. My son called as soon as he received it, asking if it would be on the first Saturday, and I confirmed, and he started saying that people can't eat 2 days in a row and if I couldn't leave it for another week, because Wendy wanted to do it to get closer to the family. I said no, as it is my tradition, and despite finding their choice of date unpleasant, I won't stop them, but I will continue with the usual dates. He proceeded to say I'm making things uncomfortable, and a week later it wouldn't bother me, and used the coin her invite was before. I was perplexed and said that everyone knows it's the first Saturday of the month, including them, so it wouldn't change all my plans. Things got uncomfortable, of course. But I kept it, because it's something that doesn't just involve me, friends and family already conforms. There was a party on Saturday with family/friends, he and Wendy didn't come, and on Sunday, I didn't go, because I worked that day. Many didn't come, and those who did, few ate the food, because they couldn't eat twice. During the week, my son sent a message asking if it was worth it to have done that and upset her, because it spoiled this moment that she wanted to have with our family. He stressed that I could have been the best person, but I preferred not to be. I don't think this attack is very fair, but I wanted an outside opinion. It was the best date for all of my family and friends in December, as they get together before the festivities, for me too. Tradition that has been going on for 10 years. Am I the butthole? I don't mind her doing this, I encourage it, but yeah, I found the choice of dates peculiar, 6 months in the year and any weekend, and she chose the only weekend that I always do something to do the same. Not the butthole. It sounds like she took it personally when you didn't follow her P-Ro Fe SS Ionol in Ion and wanted to upstage you on your own tradition. Not the butthole. 1. This is a family tradition of 10 years. Traditions are important, and attempting to modify or change them is offensive. 2. She is clearly trying to upstage you, trying to prove to the family she can make this dish better. 3. Her choice of dates was passive-aggressive. 4. Your son is also an awe for letting this happen. If Wendy clearly wants to get closer to the family, she can easily start her own tradition which doesn't conflict with yours. Not the butthole. Your dill seems very pretentious. Instead of trying to be respectful of you and your recipes, she decided she's rather upstage you. In her eyes, your son owes you an apology, and you need to make it clear to him that she is welcome to be a part of the family. She is not welcome to disrespect your family traditions and recipes just because of her profession. Would I be the butthole for moving away from my disabled boyfriend? Edit. English is not my first language, so I am sorry if any of this does not make sense. I, 25 female, have been with my boyfriend, 25 male, since we were 19. When we were 23, he was injured in a skiing accident. His injuries were so severe that he was paralyzed from the neck down, and he has been semi-comatose ever since. Other than that, he can do very little. He is no longer there, his body is essentially functioning on autopilot. There are more medical issues, but I do not want to divulge his private information any more than I have to. We were planning to get married. I still love him very much. Since his accident, he has lived at the hospital, and then his parents. We lived together, but our 5th floor apartment was not suitable for his needs, and I worked too much to care for him. His parents live 90 minutes out from our city. I visit 4/5 times a week, sometimes more if I can. It's been a point of contention between his mother and myself that I do not visit every day. I literally cannot do this with the hours I work, and I am scared I will get in a road traffic accident driving in the dark and icy conditions. We live in a very snowy, icy state. His family basically lives on a mountain and runs a skiing resort, so the roads are terrifying. I work in a small and intensely competitive field. The salary I am on right now is fine for the city I live in, major US city, but I could be earning almost double if I relocate. I've been offered an amazing job across the country. I really want to take it. When I told his mother about how I was considering this job, she lost it. She told me I was an awful person to consider moving away from him. She said I was betraying him by abandoning him and moving on. I told her that I couldn't just stop living because of what happened. She started screaming at me. I am empathetic because I understand that she feels as though the world is moving on without him. I feel that way too. I am very conflicted. I am unsure if it is wrong to do this. Me and my boyfriend had promised we would marry each other. I do feel like I am abandoning him. Would I be the butthole for taking the job? Not the butthole. From what you described, he has no idea you're there, and you're very kind to have hung on this long, but you can't keep putting your life on hold for someone who is permanently semi-comatose. This is about his mother not wanting to feel abandoned, it's not about him. Not the butthole. I doubt your BF would want you to give up on your dreams. I'm so sorry this happened. It is a no-win situation, but the person you knew doesn't exist anymore. It is awful for everyone, and his mom is taking out her hurt and anger on you. It is okay, if painful, to move on, but the man you wanted to marry is gone. Good luck. Not the butthole. Am I the butthole for letting my son get fast food and bring it into a wedding reception? My son, 22 male, is a picky eater. My cousin was getting married and had a lovely reception with a nice buffet. Johnny wasn't a fan of what was served, so I let him leave and get some food. Word spread amongst our family where he was going, and a few people asked him to bring things back, so he did. We are at a table near the dance floor and you could probably smell it there, but nobody in our immediate family had a chance problem, even the bride and groom. Apparently the venue and the family of the bride were appalled, and I don't understand why. It was a great party, but he wanted something different and other people did too. So am I the butthole? Edit. He's 22 years old and in college. He has no medical issues, he just has a limited palate. When I said let, I meant, let him take my car since we all rode together. Further edit, the food was served buffet style, a nice soup, salad, tenderloin, barbecue beef, pasta, a few other selections. It was actually really good for wedding food. Everyone else who partook in the fast food did so because, well, it was there and tasted good. They didn't have a problem with the venue's food. Also, as some people said, 1 or 2 chicken bones did end up in the floor in the venue. That was unfortunate. You're the butthole for sure, you should have arranged something beforehand instead of doing it like this. Oh, and stop enabling your adult son, he is 22 FFS. You're the butthole. At most, he should have slipped out, eaten, and returned quietly. Letting it be known and eating at the reception is a very move. You were rude, disrespectful and trashy. Apologize and teach your son better. Also, he's 22. Enable much? Hard, you're the butthole. Your son is 22. He can eat before the ceremony, or eat after. Or eat a granola bar in the bathroom. But instead you and him made a big enough scene of the food not being to his liking that many people knew, and then he proceeded to bring back dinner for several other people, causing an even bigger scene that was highly disruptive of an insanely expensive formal dinner that you nor any of the other guests getting takeout paid for. I assume that the wedding allowed children at the dinner, but it's unclear why you weren't sat at the kids' table and supervised by the grown-ups. Am I the butthole for ignoring my coworker after she used me to her advantage and expects me to get her a new position? Months ago, my coworker Debbie used me to get a raise. I was initially happy for her, but she cannot complete her work on her own and goes to me for help every day. For months I've been explaining the same concepts again. Now I'm irritated that she used me but cannot pull her weight. Debbie tries to offload her work onto me and other coworkers because she's so busy despite having the least amount of work on the team. Debbie also deletes important emails from clients, and I don't even know what to say about that. Debbie doesn't believe that she's being compensated fairly for the amount of work she's doing, so she started looking elsewhere months ago. For me, I've been overworked for so long and I cannot handle this anymore. I regularly work long overtime hours to ensure deadlines are met because I'm assigned more important duties. Now I feel like I've been babysitting Debbie's work. I've been getting physically sick from working here. I thought I could just suck it up and told myself things would get better, but 2 weeks ago something just hit and I started applying. I quickly found a new place and will leave in 2 weeks from Friday. When Debbie found out on Friday, she was furious. She told me she felt blindsided that I was leaving. She tried to convince me to stay a bit longer, saying my departure would cause her and the team so much hardship. When I refused, Debbie asked where I was going. She told me that she's been looking for months but couldn't find anything. She asked if I could help her find a new place since I found one so quickly, but I did not answer. I just wanted to lay low for the remaining days. On Friday I finally left after regular hours, but Debbie tried reaching out to me for an emergency. Her past emergencies were situations I have taught her before, so I suspect this is no different. Then Debbie started calling and texting my personal cell, but I've been ignoring her. She texted me that I shouldn't be so selfish now that I'm leaving and I shouldn't leave her and the team high and dry and half-ass my work. Debbie also has been calling and texting asking if we could talk about getting her a new position. I've been ignoring that too. Part of me feels bad for Debbie because she's not happy here and my departure will cause her hardship. The team cannot function without me as I was the top performer, but I'm so burned out that I don't even want to work the last 2 weeks. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. But do your teammates a favor on the way out the door, and clue up HR on Debbie's antics. Not the butthole. Stop feeling bad. New employees are given a pass for so long, but eventually you have to be able to pull your own weight. Debbie can't, but you've been pulling her weight for so long that she is probably freaking out. I would tell her the truth. You are not her babysitter. She gets paid more than she deserves for the work she does already, and she is a grown-ass adult, so if she can't get her own new job, it is not your responsibility to find her a job. No wonder new people don't like me at work. I don't sugarcoat things. Am I the butthole for asking my daughter for help? Edit. I want to clarify two things. 1. I am her dad, not sure why everyone keeps referring to me as her mother. 2. Everyone keeps telling me the grade due date is actually the post date. If I was allowed to, I would post the link so that you could see that the calendar literally says December 19th, grades due from faculty, and December 20th, grades posted. She literally admitted to lying that they were due Sunday, today, so I'm not sure why people are so stuck on insisting I'm wrong about that. I'm 54 and daughter is 28. She is home on break from grad school getting her PhD. She's only home for 2 weeks because she says she doesn't have any more time even though she has a month break. That's been a big thing with her lately. She is constantly too busy to do things with us or help us out even though she does have the time. I got my younger daughter a sweater and it turns out she already has it. I called my older daughter from work on Friday and told her she needed to run and exchange it for a different one. She said okay, she'd do it the next day. I said it needed to be done that day to get the best options, and she said she was grading so she can't. I told her that it's not like she can't pause her grading, run out, and exchange it. She said she wasn't going to slow down her work and just said that I should do it when I got back from work that day. I said I was busy too and didn't feel like running out after a long day of work, and she said neither did she. But she doesn't have a long day of work, she's sitting on her ass on her computer all day and doesn't even have scheduled hours to work, she can do it whenever she wants. Today things really kicked off because I needed her to pick up an online order for a gift for my mom, her grandma. She again used the excuse of grading. She hadn't even started working yet, it was in the morning and she was drinking coffee and having breakfast. She said that she needs to have her grades done by today, but I looked it up on the website and she has until Monday evening, so I called her on her bullcrap, and she said she had other work due on Monday, so she needed to get the grading done today, but wouldn't enlighten me on what this mysterious other work is. I said, well, tough, this needs to be picked up today so I can wrap it, and I was going into the office so I couldn't do it. She said that if I don't want to do it myself, then it will be done on her own time. I told her with that attitude she can stay somewhere else, and she said happily and packed her things, claiming she didn't want to stay here anyway but was only doing so because I insisted. She left her gifts and said to not expect her for the holidays and she'll go to her girlfriend's family instead. I think it's ridiculous that she is throwing a fit just because she can't constantly live like she's the only person on the planet, but my wife and other daughter is now furious with me. So I figured I'd ask here because my younger daughter is always reading the stories with me. Am I the butthole, or am I correct that my daughter is self-centered and childish? You're the butthole. Greater than am I correct that my daughter is self-centered and childish? Nope, that's a mirror you are looking at. You're the butthole. This must be a joke. Too many ridiculous assertions. The first, suggesting that sitting at a computer isn't work/hard work. Mainly, that you can be surprised she doesn't want to visit when you just use her as an errand girl when she does. Also, none of your requests were urgent, so why on earth can't she get them done in her own time? If you're asking a favor, don't be so demanding. Am I the butthole for not letting my elderly father live with us again? My father, 87, has, until recently, lived with my husband, 60, and I, 61 female. He became disabled after heart surgery, and then a fall, in which he broke his neck. He was no longer able to live alone, so my husband and I opened our home to him. It's been 5 years, and NGL, it's been exhausting. Recently he had a health crisis that left him bedridden and incontinent. My father is a big man, and my husband has a bad back. I couldn't see either of us being able to provide care for my father without injuring ourselves or him. A little backstory, up until last year, our entire extended family and my father's church community was all within 20 to 30 miles of each other in the Midwest. Last year I took a job in Phoenix. We offered my father the choice of going to assisted living or coming with us. He chose to come with us. Now that assisted living is a necessity, my father decided that he would prefer to go to a facility near his old hometown. It's a fabulous place. It's clean, the food is good, they have physical therapy and other social activities, and the people who work there are kind and compassionate. Most importantly, he is close to the rest of the family. He can see his grandkids, great-grandkids, and his church friends again. Since he's been there, he has made enormous progress. He's walking short distances with a walker again, getting himself out of bed and into the wheelchair on his own. He's also getting himself to the toilet again. We're just thrilled at the progress he's made at this place. Here's the issue. Now that he's getting stronger, he's talking about coming back to live with us again. The driving force behind this is money. The cost is nearly his entire monthly income. The AL community is all-inclusive. All of his daily living needs are met. He has his own private apartment, 3 meals, snacks, beverages, linen and laundry service, utilities, cable TV, physical therapy, assistance with dressing, showering, and medications. There are community activities, social programs for fellowship. Basically, he has everything he could possibly need. But he wants to come live with my husband and I again because it's free. Well, nearly. He buys groceries. We don't want him to live with us again. We've had 5 years of providing pretty much all of the services he's getting at assisted living, and we're tired. Plus we've been caregivers for so long we forgot what it's like to be a couple. We're free to take a spontaneous weekend trip by ourselves, or to laze an entire Saturday away in our pajamas watching TV. None of this was possible when my father was with us. In addition to us living our lives again, I genuinely believe my father is better off where he is. He's safe, has access to instant health care, surrounded by family and friends. I don't want him to come home. Does that make me an ah? Not the butthole. He is much safer and better cared for where he is. I know he would love to be around family, but it's not always the best solution. Not the butthole. Being a caregiver is incredibly selfless, but it takes a toll. I would find the biggest concern being yours and your husband's capacity to provide the care in a way that is safe for you and your dad. What if one of you fell while trying to assist him? You could both end up injured. The AL community sounds like it's filling all of his cups. Maybe focus on all the things it provides when discussing with your dad. Not the butthole. Caring for elderly relatives is tiring, and when it entirely falls on you and you have your own health issues, it can be an absolute nightmare. You need to take care of your health. Chances are once he moves in he will regret it because he will miss his friends, grandchildren and the facilities. Have a talk with him and see if he is being visited where he is. It may be that it isn't as great as he was expecting and he's not getting lots of visitors. Potentially talk to your family that is closer to see if they can set up a schedule so he does get visitors. Not the butthole. Nip it in the bud now. Sorry Dad, you have excelled so well because of where you are at and the full-time care which they provide. With our age and bodies, we can no longer take care of you as we once were able to. Also, he went to that facility for a reason. More family is there. Church. If he were to move back with you, he would lose all those things, and sitting around us not good for his health. Also, there is other family? Why is he not living with them, or this being an option? Say not doable any longer and stick to it. Am I the butthole for farting on our cat? Every night our cat, 2 male, likes to cuddle up by my 24 female legs. He usually stays there the majority of the night and I've gotten used to it. The problem arises when, during this 8-hour cycle, I need to fart. I usually just let them rip and our cat doesn't seem to mind. Or at least, he's never left the bed right after one. My partner, 25 male, says that this is disrespectful, and I should aim away from him. However, doing this would mean moving my legs and therefore waking him, cat, up. So, am I the butthole for fading on our cat? I might be the butthole because I am ripping ass in our cat's face every night. Partner, you need to add that your farts are a lot. I can't stop laughing. This is fantastic. Not the butthole. If the cat was bothered, everyone would know it. Plus nighttime farts aren't exactly controlled. I have 2 80-pound dogs on my legs right now. Kinda bummed I don't need to fart, or I would try it just to get some space. ETA, who would have thought a comment on farts would be my top contribution? Cats will happily fart on you anytime the opportunity arises, therefore it is morally acceptable to fart on them. Not the butthole. May, a person's bed is a sacred farting space. Who can aim farts in their sleep? The cat would leave if it was a problem, maybe the cat like it lol. Duh. This might be the most hilarious am I the butthole story I've read in a while. Unless your farts are so forceful the cat flies off the bed, you're definitely not the butthole.